topics that were or questions that were left over because I'm planning to do something around Power Automate. I'm playing with it as I was telling Dan a while ago. So maybe we'll do that going forward once I bake it in a little bit. But yeah, this is what our 102nd PC Open discussion. We did meet last week, but we didn't record it because there were only three people, and we went into a different tangent talking about um, interfaces.
Interface, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty interesting because the way Microsoft is working, at least on the posting buffer table, that's an interesting change. And most of the customer will have customization in that area. So that will be a good topic to talk about in future, just about that interface piece around the posting buffer where Microsoft is going to change them in next year, I guess.
Right.
Okay. So if people are watching this recording later on YouTube, here's the link. I am I was not able to update that last week on the website or on the blog, but I'll make sure that this gets updated tonight just after this meeting for the registration link for the next meeting, which will be available somewhere here on this page, PC Open Discussion page on my blog. Today we are going to cover some of the questions that came through, and some of them are pretty interesting because people did send me their code in email. That's why sometimes I don't like to name people. But here's the first question, which says that I have written a sample code unit to read JSON, to browse some JSON file, which then populate the customer master into a staging table in BC and is working as expected. But when I try to expose the same code unit as web service and try to test my function using Postman, I'm getting the below error. However, the JSON example above is requested in the Postman body, and I'm expecting the third-party API call to populate the staging data. So in summary, what this person want is to have an endpoint for the third-party API calls, which then can consume that API and write that data into that staging table. And then whatever he is doing from that staging table, that's completely out of the scope of this question. As per my understanding from Microsoft documentation, this example data to follow the request body in Postman, which working fine for batch requests, but third party is not agreeing to send with slash separator, and they require the input to be sent as like JSON array requesting through text parameter. Kindly help or advise how do I get a solution to meet the requirement in BC. If there's a working example that meet my criteria, that'll be great. And this person did attach the sample code unit which he created in email. But here's a design flow in the way this person is trying to approach this problem, which is when he has to create an endpoint for third parties to import some data into a staging table, which seems to have pretty limited field, number, name, a phone number array of country code and uh, phone number, and then there are multiple customers. So let's go through this because this should be pretty simple to build. And I already have my VS Code set up somewhere. Yes. Okay. So let me know if you cannot see it or if I have to zoom some anytime. So what I'm going to do is let me just change these numbers back to 50,000 so that we don't waste time into all that. And let's create a new table first, kind of staging table that he created. This is my prefix, random prefix, not registered with Microsoft, but you should always use a prefix when you're creating new objects. Um, the field he wants is customer number, then he wants their name, and if I'm not wrong, let me just quickly check that. The other thing he said is phone, country code, and phone number. Okay, so let's do a country code and let's do a phone number. Okay, number, let's take the standard Microsoft lens and Microsoft field lens, customer content, my thing. Then name, let's take the Microsoft standard again, text 100, customer content. And then we need country code, which should be, I think, and you can change the numbers if needed. But just for example, I'm taking 5 character long. And then the phone number is a standard 30 characters, if I remember it correctly. Otherwise, you can change it if needed. There's our table, the staging table, which will store the data. So let's finish this, and this will create the table. And let me change this to customer content. Oh, nothing like that. Okay, and then there is it's also not set. Okay, so our staging table is more or less defined. This table will be used to store the data that comes from uh, the staging API call that we'll create in a while. Just to see this data, what we'll do is we'll also create a simple page, list page if possible, and we will again call it BCD staging customer, and that comes from the table customer staging. Oh, okay. I'll put it as list, and let's add the field in the sequence he wants: number, name, uh, country code, and then the phone number as the page that we needed. That'll help us to see is the API does actually created the record or not. And if Dan or Avinav, you have any questions at any point, stop me.
Mm, sure.
Now let's create an API page. We'll create a point. This time we'll create an API page and we'll call it again BCD and API customer staging. Let me zoom this in if needed. This is also coming from the source table called BCD customer staging, and this is of type API. As soon as you choose API, there are some basic properties that you need to set. Who's the publisher of it? So, okay, I'll create BC open discussion is the publisher of it. What is the API group? And all these parameters will be used when we do the API call. So make sure that you set it correctly. Now, when you talk about API version, don't look at Microsoft API version because Microsoft API version as of today is, I guess, version 2.0. But this is your custom API, so you can do your own versioning about the APIs. So I'll keep it 1.0. And then the entity name is considered as a single entity in that table, which would be staging customer. And the entity set name is kind of plural, where multiple entities will be listed. Staging customers. And then application area all. Let's go to the field selection. Now here it gets a little bit interesting. You need to make sure you add the system ID because every API call, read or write, would consider system ID as the primary key, then the actual primary key of your table. So this is the thumb rule, and you can go back and check with the Microsoft API or any other API that you have seen. The system ID, which is a default field in each table that you create, even the temporary table, is automatically added because it's considered as the primary key for each record in that table. Once that is done, we can start doing the fields that we need: number, name, country code, and phone number. The beauty of this AZAL extension, and I guess I have said it empty number of time, this also wizard is coming from that AZAL extension, that it takes care of certain standards that need to be followed when you create the API page. It'll automatically translate the name of these fields to what we call as, I forgot what case this is. This is, you'll have to read documentation. I exactly forgot what it called. But there's a pattern or a special uh, like you cannot have spaces in the in the name of the field because this will be displayed in the API. So the if you create it manually, you'll have to take care of it. But because I'm creating it with AZL extension, the wizard helps me to set all those parameters correctly.
But I guess we can use this underscore as well in between that. So if there's a
Yeah, you
space,
can.
yeah.
Yeah, you can. The only thing is when you read the Microsoft documentation, they say about, and I forgot the case, what it is called. Uh, there's a specific case about it, and let me see if I can find it quickly on my other browser somewhere. So that is important. Mm, use for API pages in Business Central. If I find it, I'll send it to you. Hmm. Okay. Because I did read about it in the past, and there is a specific um, case that you need to follow, which I forgot. As in, it is not mandatory, but it's one of the best practice that Microsoft suggests while developing the custom API pages, because that's what Microsoft uses for the captions field. Oh, I'm not able to find it, but let's not waste time into it. The only thing that this AGAL extension misses right now is it doesn't set one property, which is very important, which is called OData key field. And there might be a reason why he's not setting it up because there can be multiple GUID, but it is in my case is system ID, which means this first field is my OData key field. Now, once you have listed this, that's all you need to be doing. That's it. There's nothing else that you'll have to do at this point, and your endpoint is more or less ready. Now, I guess a year ago or so, we did talk about APIs with a different example. And then I also wrote a detailed blog about it. Let me see if I can find this. Yeah. So the last article on that series, which is this, test-based API 64 convergent with API, I gave some samples of if you are using custom APIs, how you need to call them in either Postman or any other tool which is used to consume those APIs, the Business Central APIs more or less. And that is this: that if you are in SaaS and if it is a custom API, your URL becomes api.businesscentral.com, the version 1.0, which is now 2.0, I guess. Then the user domain, or you can replace it with the tenant ID, then the API as the fixed word, and then here you come back here on this page. And then the API publisher, which in our case is BC Open Discussion, the API group, which is custom, API version, this means your custom API version, which is 1.0, the company that you want to do it against, and the entity set name, which is this name. So remember these because you should not be changing these frequently because there will be external integration which will be depending on these properties. It's not considered destructive in the Business Central world if you change these properties. But you need to start thinking about the third parties who have their integration built in based on these endpoint. So if you are working for a company, then do check within your company that what are our standard, what is our publisher, what is our group, what is the version we are using, and what are these two properties. Because once you have defined it and third party started utilizing those, it's a pretty difficult task to change these. So don't follow what I'm doing because this is just a demo, and discuss within your company and identify what are these four properties which are very important for API and cannot be changed so easily. In the same way, if you are testing it out on Docker, then there is a different URL. If you are doing it for on-prem, then there is a different URL based on the different settings. And then I talk about these four properties here. But let's try it out. So I saw this video from AJ 2 years ago or a year ago, so where he introduced this extension called uh, REST API, if I'm not wrong. Yes, REST client. Now, what REST client does for you, it allows you to define some of the parameters and it allows you to make your REST API calls within VS Code. I know people are a huge fan of Postman and I'm not against it, but there's a lot of settings that you have to do on Postman and you have to learn it. The REST client seems pretty simple. That's one thing. The second thing is I don't have to go out from my comfort VS Code environment and I can do everything from my VS Code. So I would utilize this and it support all kind of authentication that you can have possibly. And there are different things that you can read about it here. And then this is an example of a post. And then there will be an example of get like this, which you'll be using. I would highly encourage if you are a BC developer, then install this because this lets you do everything in this environment. So let's do this. Let's publish this extension and then we will utilize the REST client because that extension should exist there. Okay. So I did the publish and then I should be able to find that particular page, which was,
So sort of just here
yeah.
one thing. I mean, what if we not define that OData key field when defining the API page? What difference does it make in executing our call?
Okay, let me think about what difference it makes. Hmm. It, so when you do a post, it returns you the GUID, right? That this is the GUID for this record. Now think about the external party. Don't think about from the business central perspective, because for business central the record is created. But let's say if you are creating a sales header and then you have to create the sales line. So for
Mhm.
creating sales line, you need the GUID for the sales header, which you might have created in a separate API call. So
Mhm.
that written parameter will come based on the GUID that you have selected, if I'm not wrong. And let's check it out. We'll remove it and see that.
Okay.
So let's just to make sure that do we have this? Yes, we have, and there are no records at this moment, which is good. So let's go, and I already have this demo.stdp, which is the file that you need to create if you are utilizing the REST API. And this can be part of your solution, but it doesn't execute in Business Central. But this is just for VS Code. So there are some very simple rules. The three hashes will define that next is a command. And then as soon as you write some command, it shows you this action automatically on top of it, which says send request. So what I've done, I have created a variable called base URL where I am storing my base URL, which is Business Central version, and then my tenant ID, and then my environment name, BC Open Discussion is the environment name where we were in this one. So instead of typing that every time, I'm just utilizing this as my parameter. And then as we saw, this will return me, this call will return me all the APIs that are available from Microsoft because this only lists Microsoft API. So as soon as I do send request, I'll get an output here on this area and it'll show me all the APIs that are available. Again, only from Microsoft, not custom entities are visible on this area. So now you know what are the APIs, what is their name, what they are called, how you need to call them if you have to. Now, for doing any API interaction, either you are doing it on a table which is data per company false, or two, a API always need a company ID. Every API call will have a parameter to do where you need to pass the company ID. So the first thing that we are doing is we are trying to fetch or call the company's API, which is one of the default Microsoft API. And this will list down all the companies. And then what I've done is I've created a variable which is created with the single hash, and the variable name is companies. So the result of this get call will be stored in this variable called companies. And then what I'm doing is I'm picking the first company, because there will be more than one company, from this variable and storing the first value of it into a another variable called company ID. And then going forward, I'll utilize this company ID wherever I have to do it. And we'll see what that means. So at this moment, the company ID is blank. There's no reference to it, and it is also giving an error that it doesn't exist. Let's do a send request. It'll show me the list of companies here, which is that I have two companies. One is called Cronus USA, and the other one is called my company. At this point, you will notice that the error is gone here, and the company ID is pointing to the ID of the first company, which is Cronus USA. I think I should be able to see it here. Okay, should be visible. Hovering sometimes doesn't work. Okay, but let's see if at this point, if I want to see all the items in that company, what I can do is I can say this is just a name. You don't have to give it if you don't like it. That's all up to you. Get items. Okay. What I can do again, a get and then a variable. Let me try typing that variable, which is base URL. Will automatically add those because it understands that it's a variable defined. Then API, and then version 2.0, which is for Microsoft. Then my company's parameter, and then oh, sorry, this is not what I wanted. Companies, and inside that, I would like to call my this variable which I created called company ID. It will translate this to the Cronus USA or the GUID for Cronus USA. And then what I want is an endpoint for item, which is called items. Now, just FYI, I'm not using the right authentication. I'm just using basic, which is not supported in Business Central. You should be using the OAuth, but just for the demo, because it's still supported in the older environments. If I do a send request, it'll show me all the items in Business Central in that particular company based on the API fields which are defined there. So I can see the ID of that record. I can see the number, display name, type, item categories, and other things which are defined there. And it's a whole list of all the items. As we all know, the response from API comes in a JSON format. So here's the response. In the same way, you can utilize any Microsoft API if you have to do anything that you would like to do. But now let's talk about our custom API. Get, what is this called? Staging customer. Okay, let's do a get, and let's do a base URL. So now it's connected to the base URL. Now remember this, which we talked about in the blog, where it is here. I'll just copy it so that it's simple for me. Okay. So this part is my base URL already storing till here. So I don't have to care about this part. This is already handled. Then the next parameter that I need to give is API, okay, which is a hard-coded word. So let's do that. Then after that, I just need the API publisher, which in my case is PC Open Discussion, I guess, and I don't want to be wrong there. So let's copy this as it is. API publisher is done. Then API group, which I have set to custom. Custom. This is done. Then API version, which is set to v1.0. Then the companies and company things. So I'll copy it from here as it is. And then the entity set name, which is set to staging customers. So at this point, it should be able to return me if there are any records in that table, they should be returned here. So let's call this. And says the value is null, which means at this moment there are no records in that particular table. Now let's see an example of posting a record in that table, which is similar. Post staging customer. I'll not waste time there. I'll just do copy this because this will remain as it is. Instead of get, it will become post and the command remains same. Everything else remains same. Then I'm giving my content type, which is in form of application JSON. You set it as a property in Postman if you are a Postman fan. Then there's a pattern, as we all know, for sending out parameters in JSON, which is name value combination. So let's pick the fields. The first field that I want to enter is number. So let's do a number. Sorry, we'll add a value in a while. The next field is name. Okay. The next field is country code. And the last but not least is my phone number. Sorry. Once it is done, I can start keying in the values, which is, let's say, 1000. Name is Saurav. Country code is +91. And the number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. As soon as I hit the post, and why I'm not seeing the request there. Oh, is it case sensitive? I don't think so. Let's see. Maybe it is. No, it should be like this content type. Oh, I forgot the hash. I did only two, so it doesn't understand it. All right. So three hashes to understand that what next you are writing is a API call. So as soon as I do that, I'm ready to post a record in my Business Central using my custom API. So as soon as I do a send request, it'll show me the result of what got inserted and it says request data is invalid. What is invalid here? Let's have a look.
Saurav, I guess in content type there are two columns. One is by default and one you have added. Line number 24.
Yeah, yeah, and that's
No, in line number 24, you see that after content type there is a column and then there is
oh,
another column.
oh, thank you. See,
Yeah.
basic mistakes. Okay, let's do a send request again. If everything looks good, it'll return me that it is able to insert that record with the system ID this. The number is 1000. The name is Saurav. Country code is this, and phone number is this. Now let's go back into Business Central, refresh our page, and see what happened. It will be able to show us the record that just got created there. And okay, come on. Okay, so here's the record which got created. Now think about your third party whose JSON, the question whosoever was asking, you're trying to read with that code unit and then trying to insert that record by reading it from that code unit rather than sending them this endpoint and giving them credential for OAuth in that case, so they can start consuming this to post whatever they need on the staging table. Now, after that point, whatever you are doing with that staging data is up to you. but don't waste your energy in writing crazy codes. And we have tried that in the past. There is a surely a old BC open discussion recording where it talks about reading a JSON file and writing to a JSON file if needed. But that's a lot of work, man. And if there is a small change from the third party, your whole code unit will be of no use. Yes, as nav developers, we like to code, which is as in we like to code more, which is the default, I guess, for most of the developers. But when you are dealing with third parties, utilize the power of APIs which available with Business Central rather than trying the legacy ways that you have done in the past. Okay, so you wanted to try that out? Let's do that. Enough. Let's set this up, off, and let's see what happens. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I might have to read this loud later sometime to understand. If nothing happens, that means what happens. I don't know.
Because see, I have done this way, but I haven't defined that OData key field. So if you try and insert a new record, you will get the same set of response that you're getting.
Maybe yeah, because my thing is I was just I did read the API guideline published by Microsoft back when they released version 1. Okay, and I'm just following what's written there as it is. There are no rules that I'm creating for sure. Okay, let's keep the number same. Let's see what happens now. Okay, I did not get the GUID for. Oh no, I did get the GUID for my record, which is system ID. Hmm, I did get that. I'll have to read it and come back to you what happens because I know there is a reason why that property is being said. Because when you check Microsoft guidelines around it, I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure that they have explained it why you have to do it, but I might have to read that again, tell you why that is required.
Okay.
But okay, that added a new record. And again, if somebody would like to, from your third party, would like to get the record, they can just do a get, and that will return them both the values that we just created. And then anytime they interact with this record going forward, they'll have to use this keyword. And this keyword, remember, will not be same for the actual customer because it's a staging table. You can keep it while you're writing your staging to actual. You can keep the system ID as it is if that matters for you. There is a new variant of insert if you don't know. Abhinav, do you know that or not?
No, no.
Okay. So let's briefly talk about it because this becomes important when you start thinking from the API perspective because that new variant is released just for the API feature. So what happens is if there is a procedure on this or anywhere in the system, which let's say copy to customer. Okay. Now because your third party is only talking to your staging table, and let's assume that they are storing that system ID for future interaction with the actual customer, right? So customers that they created sort of have a GUID or a ID which they know in their system, and they will always refer Saurabh with that GUID. They'll say, "Oh, okay. If I'm talking to Saurabh, I need to filter out actual customer table with this GUID, which is defined on this table, which is this, right?" Now this will change if I transfer this record from here to customer and just do a plain simple insert because it the value of the GUID is defined during insert. But what if I do this? If I have to keep the ID because I know that my external integration depends on it, then what I can do is I can do a customer.init, and before that maybe let's create this also. Staging, okay, record from this. So this is my staging. And then I say, okay, if staging dot find set, whatever that is, then repeat this. Come on, man. Until my staging dot next is equals to 0. Okay. And then I do a customer init. And typically what I'll do is I'll do a customer dot transfer field, assuming I'm using the same ID. Let's assume. Or I'm actually not using the same ID. So let not be wrong. Number is equals to staging dot number, because I can't use transfer field because I did not follow the pattern. Name is from staging dot name, and then customer dot phone number is equals to staging dot phone number. There's no field for country code, but let's assume. Now at this point, what I'll do is typically I'll do a customer dot insert true, right? So that the insert get calls, and whatever the code is written on the insert trigger will get called. So far so good, sir.
Right, right.
But in Business Central 17, they said here, if you are trying to insert a record, then do a control space and see that there are 3 variant of insert instead of 2. One is the old legacy insert, which means insert false. That means doesn't call the code on the on insert trigger. The second one is run trigger, which means run the on insert trigger of the customer table while you're trying to insert the record. And then a new insert trigger, which is called as run the trigger, but insert with system ID.
Oh, so there will be two booleans.
Yes. So you say, yes, I would like to run the trigger. And I would also like to, what was that second thing?
Boolean.
Insert with system ID. Now, what that insert with system ID does, I guess, let me see, because I'm pretty sure I talked about it sometime in past. Okay. I don't want to be wrong. In new variant insert, I guess that's what I call it. Yeah, on insert. Here it is. So this is old, this is new. Okay. So what happens with this? If the insert with system ID is true, the system ID of the record is given the value that you explicitly assign. If the value is not assigned, then the platform will assign it. Okay, I'll come to this, what that means. But if you say insert with system ID true, which we'll do here, then you can actually assign customer.system ID is equal to staging.system ID. What will happen with that? The system ID of the actual customer will also be exactly same as of the staging. So any interaction that your third party is doing going forward with that system ID, they can utilize that to query the actual customer table, because now it's in the actual table, and they can still rely on the same ID.
Got
But
it.
if you do it true and you don't define this, still then the customer record will get a new ID. Not just defining this will solve the problem. We'll also have to write this line so that the ID kind of get copied into from the source record to the target record.
Right.
And that is done for different purposes, like in situations where a table is being redesigned by Microsoft or being deprecated, right? And that moves to a different table where the data goes as it is, but then you as partner or Microsoft have to make sure that if there are integration, because they don't know are there integrations or not to that table, the IDs of those new record also remain same as the old record. Okay, sir.
Right. One thing here, like, so we have seen the get, we have seen the post, right? We have read it from the table, we have inserted in the table. So when we are doing a modifier using the API call,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I guess we need to pass some of the primary key that has to be there to update that record. So can we use the system ID instead for updating a record? Let's say we have inside two records, right? Saurabh Dihani and Abhinav Saini. So
Mm-hmm.
if we change any of the phone numbers of that record, so which I guess the patch is the one which needs to be used, right?
I have never done it. Let's play it around with patch a record. I don't know will that work or not, but let's give it a try. Okay, so let's do a patch. Everything should go as it is, I hope. And then the only catch is that you will have to find one record rather than all the records. So for that, we'll do a get so that we know what we are getting into. Here it is. The system ID of this record is this. So let's try to filter this out. Staging customer, and let's try to see, can I patch? Oh, sorry. Can I just get this? Oh, sorry. What is happening? Copy. Paste. No, it doesn't like it. Okay. Let me do a copy of the whole piece and put it into a notepad. Can I do that? Yes. So then get the system ID 1000. Okay. And let's try to filter it out here. Can I get one of the record? Is this the way to get one record? I don't know. No, it is not. How you get one record? Hmm, that is
I
interesting.
mean, instead of this single code, can we just use this only ID code basically? Because when
Oh
we
yeah,
when
yeah.
we
Sorry, yeah. I forgot to remove these. Sorry, yeah. I should not have done that. Thank you. No, let me see. Did I messed up somewhere? I said get base URL BCI custom UPI staging customers. Okay, let me just remove this for a while and see is it even working. Maybe I messed something else. Send request. No, it's a
that the
problem somewhere.
content type is up. I'm not sure whether this will solve the
Why
issue.
there is a content type? Ah, there should not be any content type on this one. That's for sure. There's a get. Okay, it does return. Now let's try to add that here. Does it return only one record? So that's what we need. Bad request, query, query, bad request, error in query syntax. Hmm. Okay, I'm doing the get and I'm then saying staging, and then this is my UID for that record, I guess, and that should be correct. If I have to do that. Bad request not found. Okay, let me change the property on my setting for JSON from body to full so that I can see the full error if there is any. Okay, let's see what the error seems like. Okay, application JSON, this, content type non-diff, max age to include subdomain. Okay, not found. Oh, that's weird. Why it is not found? Okay, now can you give me the?
Instead this can we put 1000 and check as a number 1000? Yeah.
You can filter it out, that's for sure. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use. Oh, okay. Here maybe we went wrong. As we didn't went wrong. Here is where your OData field thing comes into picture. Where is that page? Let's try to publish this. Because that will define this as the primary key field on that. I'm hoping.
Okay. I mean, it's a good thing to learn as well.
because we are trying to do a get, and system don't know what is that field value looks like and why you're trying to pass that in. This got published. Okay, let's go back in. Let's do a get first. Straight. Okay, let me just change again that to only body so that I don't see the junk header if I don't like it. And then let's come back here, pick this ID, and then let's try to filter this out. Okay, and here it is, sir. So now you know why we need it, and now I
Yeah.
also know why we need it.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Okay, so now we have the record. We'll try to patch it. I have not done a patch till now, but let's see how that goes. Okay, so I'm going to do a patch. Okay, and this time I know that I'm patching a record, and I know that record because that will come in this filter. Now I would like to, I don't think I have to do something else, but let's change the phone number to this. This we are doing for my user that we have created, or customer that we have created. Hope that is not wrong, but let's see. Okay, what it says: could not validate the client concurrency token required by the service. Please provide a valid token in the client request. Okay. Okay, let's search for it. How you do a patch in Business Central? I'm pretty sure AJ and others would have wrote about it, but let me search for it because I technically have not done a patch. But patch a Business Central record via API. Hmm. Okay, that's a question. Okay. I also stand API get post patch. We'll see this if this question does not answer our question. Okay. It is working fine using the customer ID and the field written in URL. Okay. I want to update customer based on the number field. Okay. And my patch request is this. What is the patch request? This is the patch request. He's trying to filter it based on number, as you are saying, sir. And then
Yeah.
my request is this, and my response is something else in our case, but it is
Yeah. I guess there is a one more header that we need to add for a patch for this request for this error type EDM type na.
mm-hmm.
If match is a basically a header where you need to pass that what if the on the header side there's a if match. Yeah,
Okay.
this one.
If match and what we say.
It's a star. I mean star. Just put star.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
like
Learning
this.
something new. Let's try to patch this. Okay, it got patched. But let's try the way he was trying to do it. Now I know it. What you were trying to say, that he is trying to filter it based on something. Okay, let's pick that filter.
Yeah, that's what
I like.
that's what I was doing because I haven't used this OData key field. So
Right.
what he was doing is he just wanted to filter a particular record by its primary key, and then he tries to do a pass statement. The
Right.
similar that what I was doing, but
Okay.
defining that OData key field is giving me an option to define it without putting a filter to it, but just passing a GUID or any other reference of that particular field or a unique ID for that you can say, and then you know using this one it will give you that particular result.
Okay. This was the number. Let me see. Where is the get? There's the get. Okay. I think 1000 is the number. 1000. Okay. So I'm saying where number is equals to no is equals to this. Okay. Let me append that in here. and people who are watching recording. We are just playing because we are only two people now. Dan also left. So we just playing it along. Okay, so let's change this to 9. So my number is 10 times 9. Let's see what happens. Mm-mm. Patch request for staging customer of EDM type collection are not required on the Business Central web service. And I guess that's what that article was also saying. So let's go back and read what it was trying to say. Okay, so here Nilesh suggests him this. Okay, check the ticket for solution. I faced the same issue and found solution. Okay, what is that? Okay, he was also trying to do a patch, and this happened. Okay, for patches, I believe you need to identify a single record with parameter in URL just after a few web service name, not as field in the body, like item general template name, general batch name, and line number. If you understand the PowerShell, okay, the blog is unfortunately in Danish. Implement e tag and header if match functionality. Okay, I have tried but got error. Okay, if match header body and getting this error. Okay, it is general template in the body also include. Okay, this time I include quantity and it gave me the same error. Okay, can you try without if match? Okay, got the below error. Okay, if match is missing. Okay, I have error, but got the same error. Okay, does anyone confirm the patch works for OData service in Business Central? It's going crazy now. Where is the response below after this? Strange. Okay, super unbelievable. Now patch works correctly after passing the correct value in if match tag. Okay, if match, and what is this match thing coming from? From where he is getting this weird is match? What is this if match?
Maybe that the when you run a request, right? There's a uh, I guess
Okay,
OData key field. Yeah.
so if you can do that, why the hell you cannot do the GUID directly in that case? Because every record will have a GUID eventually,
Right.
right? So
So
if I'm
if you
doing a get, and I guess what you're trying to say is he's trying to do this.
yeah.
Oh man,
E tag.
seriously, e tag. If you
I
can
mean,
do this, then directly do the ID, nah? Or maybe
yeah.
he created a custom API.
I mean, these guys didn't use that OData key field. Maybe.
Maybe, yeah. That's that's again, I guess if you go by the book, then you will be saved like I'm saved the time because I go by book. Okay, so let's copy this. Oh, I'm doing a wrong one, I guess. Let's see what happens. Get staging customer. No, post staging customer. Staging customer, right? This is who? No, get staging customer. Sorry. Come on. Okay. Okay, so this is my e tag. E tag. Okay, let's copy this and put it here. Okay. OData e tag is this. Okay, so he's saying just put this in the if match. Which technically means you don't need this filter to be very fair, true. Let's try that out also in a while. But okay, before we go there, let's see the value of my phone number here on this page, what it is currently, so that we try out the patch.
It's triple and it, I guess.
Okay. Yes, a 99998. Okay, so we are
Yeah.
changing it to 9. And I'm doing this, which I think this is not required now because you are already doing a if match. But let's see. We'll test that out in a while. Data request is invalid. Okay, so maybe I'm not able to do the if tag again correctly. So let's go back to Nilesh article and see what he's doing. He's saying if match, then this. That's what I'm doing. In quantity 13, I'm doing phone number this. Yes, you need to fetch the e tag just before even update. Hmm, great. If match tag. That's what we are doing, guys. What the hell we are doing wrong? Hmm.
Because I haven't tried this e-tag, but I tried with the star. Let me check my Postman collection. I believe it's
Okay, I thought I learned something new, but okay, this. What the heck is this? Okay. Okay, copy. Let me try to paste it here. No, okay, it doesn't like my copy style. Copy and clear this up. It doesn't like what I copy. And why is that, man? You should love when I'm copying things and pasting. No. Okay, let me see. Is this the right value manually? W this Z Z E Q M T 080 okay and hash. That seems correct. Let me remove this filter from here. Okay. Okay. Here is that tag. E tag. Because E tag also seems to be aligning to the given, which is a unique parameter, but I hope that this changes every time you do a get. All right. Here it is. My E tag is this. So let me again try that one more time, guys. Let's see what happens. If match with this value, patch this. No, this is wrong. What if I don't filter it out because I know that the E tag will return me the right record? No, it doesn't like that.
can we try one thing here is can we just pass, can we put star here, and in the staging customers after bracket, instead of filter we just pass this thing.
The E tag thing?
No, not e tag, just star here, and this after staging customers in bracket, if we pass number equals to 1,000, something like this. Yeah.
That's it?
Equals to
Like this? I guess that's how you write it, but
normal equals to maybe, and hard code 1,000.
as a value?
Yeah, as a value 1,000.
Okay.
Yeah, and this minus eq is equals to, I mean, just put this, yeah,
Equal
as a
to sign.
equals to, yeah, equal sign. Now try.
Oh, should I try to get it first? If I get it, then I can patch it, right? As simple as that. So let's change it here on the get and see, do I get it? Because that'll be easier to know. Am I doing it correctly or not? Now,
No,
what I do is if I do it as minus EQ, because that's what the OData terminology is. Let's see, do I find something? Mm, no, I don't. Uh, what Dinesh was doing? Let's go back because it's fun, man. Okay, let's see. Oh, so he was passing like this. Okay, but let me go up what he was trying to do here. Okay,
because he was not using the API, he was using the page, I guess, the web service basically. It's not an API page, it's just directly a web
he's
service, I
calling
guess.
API, man. He's calling API businesscentral.com. Oh, but
Okay.
that also comes from there. I don't know. From the web services now. Mm, but let me see if I have to get an items and limit it to 3. What I do? That should not be like this. Okay, let's see. I it the get should work, but not like this. I guess it should work like dollar filter and then this crazy thing here. And see, we bye bye you. Okay, let's save this and do a send request. What is the response? Nothing. Okay. Does it not like the spaces? It should like the spaces. Or does it need the double quotes here and then EQ and this? Syntax error character this is not allowed at position 0 equals 1000. Oh, okay. That means doesn't like double quotes. So that's for sure. Does it hate these? And then we'll try your equal to if this does not work. No HTTP resource found where you do a filter of number space. Oh, it's considering this as in space, but okay. Let's convert this to equal to, and let's see what happens now. Send request. No, nothing found. What are you trying to do? He had an example which seems correct. I have to make my
But
library up
but
to date.
the scenario which I was talking, I guess there is no space, so can just remove the spaces in number and thousand.
And then 1000 as a value.
Yeah, not as a value, just as a constant. I mean that hard coded one. Maybe the hard coded one. Just
Okay.
try with the hard coded one. And
No,
just
it's not.
and just remove the filter. Just remove the filter once.
Just remove the filter.
Then this
Keyword.
filter and this dollar sign
Okay.
and try. Yeah.
Bad
No,
request. Hmm.
I'm not sure that what exactly. Maybe I was doing something else.
I'll come back to this. I'll surely search this because
But
I
but but
know
but
there's
but
a
we
way.
have figured out the way that how we can use the patch.
Yeah, if you are relying on your GUID, then you are good with your patch like this,
But
And
if let's say in the OData key field, if we put a number and then if we pass 1,000 here, so
you can't.
will
OData key field only supports a GUID, as far as I know. Again, I can be completely wrong, but let's see. ID and number. Okay. Dependent property, and then okay, let's try
I
that
guess
before
yeah
we run out. We are already run out of time. So guys, if you're watching recording, you can leave. We're just playing. Okay, let's put the number,
yeah.
which becomes then the primary key, I guess. Like this? Seriously?
Mhm.
Okay. I hate this, but okay. Just for the sake of science, let's try this out. Control F5.
One last try.
Yeah, no problem. This should get published in a while, and this got published. Okay, so let's go back here. This time, we're first trying a get because that's our future-proof concept of doing get.
1,000. Yeah.
So before we do that, let's see. Is it returning everything as it is? Yes, it is. And then 1000. Okay. So let's filter it out and say 1000. What happens now? No. And why is that? Okay. What if I still give the keyword? Okay. Not found. Wow, nothing is found. Nope. The documentation is messed up somewhere, I guess. It says you can define anything, but what is this? Specifies the field to select when using OData. Applies to page, OData, field ID and number. That's it. Nothing else on this. Okay. That sounds weird. API page. Okay. I'm working on API page, which is good. We are also, I have a case where I want to update customer API using number field instead of system ID. Great. I did one change for custom API, made a copy of existing customer API and map it to number. It is working fine with all current cases. Below link has limited information. We know where there will be an issue on doing this. Thank you. Okay. Using number field as a data key can cause issues if users are making changes to the primary key and some changes are not reflected in system which is consuming the API. Other than that, I don't foresee any issues. Okay, so what it is telling me that I should be able to utilize it as it is, as we were trying to do this. But did it not get published? It did. I see that it got published. That's why this window popped up. And then why I cannot do this in that case? Oh, what happened? Come on, build the screen slowly. Okay. I'm saying I need to get the company ID, the staging customer 1000, which is the number field now, which I've already set here, and I have published this extension, and this is working. So if I do the get that request, oh no, let's straightforward plain face to customers. Is it working? It's the baseline that should work. That is working. The number is called 1000, and then 2000. Zero. Hmm.
Hmm.
List of field. It is not one field. It is list of field. Okay. So let's do a system ID and a number. Let's see what happens now. No application number. Okay. I can do both. That's because it's a list of field. It is not one field. So I can actually do both if needed. And his concern was correct that if you modify the primary key of the record, in that case, your third party integration breaks because it was relying on that number field. And that's the reason there is a GUID field. So that even if you change the primary key, your GUID still remains static. Okay, published. Great. Let's go back. Let's first try with the company GUID or the GUID that we have. Okay, let's save this. I do a send request. The number of keys does not match. It's acting as a primary key, man.
Yeah,
Okay, bad request not found.
maybe that
This
single grid is working, I guess.
this is fun to analyze this. One more time here, and let's see the last time. All right. So what we learned, and we'll come back to this again whenever there's no one and Abhinav and me, is that why we need this property orita key field because it used on the get statement or the filter clause or in the patch especially. Based on this field, you'll be able to easily identify your record that you're trying to target or patch or get, you know, just to keep it simple. And the other thing to the question, because we only did one question today, which is good. And if you're watching the recording later, uh, try this way. I hope this solves your problem that you're trying to achieve. I see one catch which I noticed while we were talking about it, that you have a sub child in this. So there's the parent, and then there is a sub node or branch or sub JSON into the child array into it, which is storing phone number, which is technically possible, which means that you can create two pages, a sub page, and then link that to the main page in your API. That way, you will be able to replicate the same structure of your JSON query as is requested. So I just looked at it, and that's why it clicked me, because at this point, uh, oh, sorry, what's happening at this point, the customer's starting, and then there is an array. Inside the array, this is the first customer detail, and then there is a sub array of phone where you are storing the two details, and then that array closes, then that customer closes, and then the second customer entity starts. That is completely possible, and for that, start looking at the Microsoft API of, let's say, sales order or sales code or sales invoice, anywhere where there is header and align combination, and you can just replicate that by creating two pages, API pages, and then link that in that way to see that. Because there is actually one more question, and before we leave, is around the expand parameter, which is again super interesting, and sometimes, you know, we overlook it, and that will also answer his question about the subchild. So what I'll do is, without wasting any time, I'll do a get for my sales code. I guess I have it. So when you look at the standard API, where is my VS code? Here it is. Let's go back here, and we wasted so much time into this, which was fun. So sales codes. If I'm trying to get the standard API sales code, this is something what I'll write. I know everybody knows it, so I don't have to spend time explaining this. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the sales code from Business Central. When I do this, what will happen is it'll return me the sales codes in Business Central, but it only returns me the header if you look at it, and then the second sales code starts. But when you go back and start looking at the standard API, and let me see if I have that open somewhere recently. Yes. So if you look at the hmm, sales code API, there are these parts in the system: dimension set lines, the sales code line, and the PDF document, something like that, PDF and other things. If I have to see the code lines, then that's where you use the expand feature, which is the next question that I was trying to answer on this meeting before we end this. So what I do is I switch back to my old workspace and here. Okay. So what I want to see is, when I see the sales code, I would like to see the sales code line related to this. But now remember that the sales code, what it is returning you is the all the sales code that you have in system. Oh, sorry, I've written it somewhere wrong. Let me comment this out. Cut this for a while. Okay. What it is returning is, what happened to this now? This should work. Sales code is, oh, there are two lines on that trying to explain this. Okay. Error in query syntax. What I'm doing wrong now? Base URL API v company ID. Oh, the company ID is lost because I just came out from a different system, a different environment. So I'll just have to fetch that. So I'll do that, and then I come back here and I do a sales code request. So this is what I got for the sales code. Now these are my sales code. But because it's a list page, if you look at it, it's showing you all the sales code. What you'll have to do is you'll have to filter out one sales code before you move to the sales code line. So if I say I need this sales code, which comes with this ID, I can just copy this, and hopefully this gets copied. And then I need to pass this as a, again, what happened to this, man? My copy is not working, which is weird. But let me do a Control A, Control C, go back to Notepad and do paste. And then let me get the ID of the first record, which is this one. Copy this time, please. And I'm filtering that one record. So now what I'll get is one sales code from my API call, which is that's it, end of it. At this point, if I have to see the child that is attached to this, then what I can do is I can do a dollar, and then I can use the expand parameter, and then I can state which child, because there can be multiple childs, I would like to see. In this case, when I run this, it will show me the sales code header and the sales code line associated with this header. What happened now? I have the company ID. Yes. I have the keyword. Yes. Oh, I forgot the question mark. Okay. Send request. Now this should return me this, which is what? Which is my sales code header, all the fields from the header as defined by Microsoft, and then the sales code lines. And there can be one or more lines into it. In this case, right now, there's only one line, but there can be more lines. So whenever the earlier question, I'm coming back to that one, when you have to create that parent-child relationship or the sub phone number array, you can utilize the Microsoft sales code or sales order any uh, API page and design your page according to that so that you can create this structure, which is your phone number is coming in this array, sub array, more or less. Avinav, that helps somehow?
Perfect.
So yeah,
And
and
even and then
go
if you
ahead.
have multiple lines, you can still use this ID of the sales code line and then pass it at the end to get the one single line, right?
Yeah, and then you can also expand multiple lines into it. I don't want to open it, but if I open it, let me see if I can on a separate window. Otherwise, my IDs and all will be gone. If I can, let me see API v2. Okay, so here it is open. Now let's say I also have the dimension set line and I would also like to see it. And I can just do, if I'm not wrong, a comma and paste it here. What should happen now that if there are dimension attached to it, I should also see that subarray associated with it. So let's see. So here is my header part. Here is my dimensions, one dimension, two dimension, three dimension, four dimension attached to it, and then there is sales code line. So eventually, whatever the complex JSON that you are getting from your third party, you can still achieve it by building in multiple API page and then linking them together as Microsoft is doing here, which is available. So when you look at this, how they are doing it on the sales code line, they are saying the document ID of this record is the document ID in the sales code page, sales code subform page is equivalent to the ID of this page. So there is already a document ID field, which is different from the ID field. So when you go to the sales line table in Business Central, and after this I'll stop.
That's okay.
Sales code, when you go into, and it doesn't actually do it from the direct actual table. That's another confusion that everybody have, and I also have it. Why they use it directly? But okay, if I look at here, I don't think that I'll get the document ID field here. I'll only get the system ID. Yes. So the reason behind that is because what they are doing in this case is this all these pages, even the sales code page, is not coming from the direct table. It is coming from the sales code entity buffer table. And then they have a buffer table. So they didn't wanted to create all these parent child relation ID fields in the actual tables, which will confuse you as a user or as a developer. So they created these buffer table where they can create these linking internally for doing that, you know. So when you go back into your business central, surely check this because this would be super cool to play around with it if you haven't, and try to search for this name. What you'll see that this is a table which is used for APIs only. There's a document type which is same. There's a sell to customer number and actually not the sales code entity buffer. There should be a buffer table also for the line. So let's come down here. Okay. Sales quote. I'll have to check what is for the line. Let's see that on the other entity. So when I go to the sales quote lines, that is coming from, oh, that is coming from sales line aggregate. That's another table. Okay.
Sales
Let's
invoice line aggregate.
aggregate. What that table contain? The line number. And let's see the primary key because that's important. The document ID, the parent document ID, not the document number and document type, and the line number is the primary key. So this is line number, type as it is, the number field as it is, the location code, the shipment date, whatever you need on the API are defined here. And then there is a field called document ID. Here it is at 8,000 somewhere. Yes, document ID. And this is your parent document ID, which is the sales header number. So that's how they are doing it. Now, you don't have to go that complex if you're building that small country region API or the customer API. But this will give you an idea of how you will reach there, at least this person, and then utilize the expand parameter to fetch all that info from the API and giving it to your third party integration to insert data back into Business Central. Now, if you're watching recording, what we are going to do next week is not this, is this, because this is super interesting. I have been working on it. Once it speaks in, I'll let everybody know in this meeting. Maybe next week when we meet, we'll try to utilize the power again of API to move some files into document attachment table from API.
Yeah,
I'm
I
trying,
think that has to become from base 64 string.
yeah, that
Yeah.
the only way will come from the base 64 string, but the way I'm trying to build it is that it's generic, where you can attach it to any existing record in Business Central, either base Microsoft or custom entity.
Because I have done the other way around, that I have exported a PDF or a image to a API via base 64. That's a pretty one, easy one. But
Yeah,
this is something different that we can see in later later meet. I guess.
yeah. Next
Yep.
week, most probably, if I get some time, we'll talk about this one for sure. And thank you, Avinav, because you were here and we were able to do it. Otherwise, there were no plan of me continuing this alone.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Avinav. Thanks,
Bye
Adar.
bye.
We'll see you next week.
Sure.
Bye bye. Yeah.
Bye.